Do you like the jingle, Alanna?
Oh, wow.
Chatechesis.
I wasn't expecting that.
A shade special. It's like, get ready, listen up. Now, welcome to Radio Real Ireland. It's the 12th of May, it's Thursday, and we're on Facebook and YouTube Live, and I have the wonderful Alanna with me. You've heard the giggle already, so you know she's here. Welcome, Alanna.
Thank you, Father.
Always nice to have you visiting here. Alanna has left her mark here. Any of our long-seasoned listeners will remember the happy days. Alanna used to come as a student, and I think you gladly escaped the checkout aisles of
Yes,
Super Value.
Yes. Great time there, but this was definitely better.
A slight step up from a checkout till.
Yes.
So lovely to have you with us, Alanna. Of course, to those who may be new, Alanna Bradley, maybe a little introduction and all your the wonderful work you've been doing since.
Thank you, Father. Yes, my name is Alanna. I am from Ireland, and I went to UCD as a student, and now I work for the Fellowship of Catholic University Students, which is a apostolate that works on college campuses. It was originally started in America, and in the last 5 years they have sent different teams to different campuses in Europe. So I am currently in UCD working as a missionary, and just finished my second year, going into my third year. Wow.
So since graduating, pouring into the mission. Wow, terrific. And a student of politics and
history.
Yes. Interesting transition there.
Yes.
From you're making history and you're shaping politics.
I hope so.
in your own little way. Excellent. Well done. And it's terrific work and so necessary. And I'm a great believer that third level students are ripe really for the harvest. You know, they're kind of at a transitional stage in life, let's say. A sense of independence, a sense of formation, a sense of sort of wanting to conquer the world. And so prime, I would say, prime material for formation. Yeah. So good. And all going well, I hope. I mean, the growing in its own way.
Yes, yeah. I think, especially on a college campus as big as the one that we're on, it can feel very big. But I think the community that has been built up on the college campus with the Catholic Society and the students that we're accompanying in their faith, there is just a lovely little, like a bubble almost that people can be a part of and get filled up and formed, and then it's kind of easier then to go back out into the bigger, wider community of the university, where it is a very secular, anti-faith culture. So it's not an easy place to be a practicing Catholic on a university campus, but having at least a small group of people that you can kind of lean on and get support from and encouragement from always makes it a lot easier.
No, for sure. And that's our hope, that Radio Maria in the same way makes its own little contribution in that regard too. And we were just chatting off air actually just before we came on, like it is, Ireland in general is so secular and at times very negative towards the faith and the church. And yet it isn't true. It's much of that, I would argue, is fake, in the sense that it's a small number of people who seem to dominate the society and dominate the culture and dominate the secular media. Whereas we've been visiting churches. I was in Waterford now last weekend, and I've been all over the country. Everywhere I go, there are people of great faith still holding fast, getting to Mass, getting to church. And I'm sure the same in the college setting, that you're kind of, once you get below the surface a little bit, and there are people, good people of faith waiting to...
Yeah, and that's it exactly. They're just waiting for an invitation. Like, they have faith. They probably go to Mass with their families at home, like on the weekends, and they've never even dreamed of doing anything else like with their faith. They're making it any more like a bigger part of their life, because what they've grown up with is you go to Mass on Sundays and that's the box ticked and that's all you really need to do. Whereas in my own experience of becoming more involved like with my faith and getting involved in different groups and things, it's the switch from your faith is just something that you do into your faith is actually a relationship like with God, and helping students to kind of come to that realization, have that encounter is amazing, because then that's when the transformation happens, because it's not just something that your parents tell you to do or something that you just grew up doing, but it's actually something that you actively participate in, because it's a relationship. So it's between two people, yourself and God, so you have to work at it. And that prayer is important, frequenting the sacraments are important, having good Catholic friends are important. But then also with that, then that as like baptized Catholics, we're all called to actually share that with our friends and share that with our families that may not have had that encounter as well. So just seeing how that can kind of spread then in that very small but powerful way, because that's how Jesus himself evangelized, was just started with a few and then taught them how to do the same and beyond. So please God, in a few years Ireland will come back to its Catholic roots, and
start small and keep growing. So listen, you've heard it here on Radio Maria. We want to join the party and claim to be one of the first, or among the first, for this rebirth of faith in Ireland. So listen, Alanna, you're doing mighty work, and it comes through in your capacity now to speak so fluently and fluidly and from the heart and with conviction and with assurance, and that's the great fruitfulness of the missionary work, and long may it continue. You're going to do another year's worth, I think, as well, aren't you?
Yes.
God bless you. 3 years.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Never did I think I'd even do one, but here we are.
That's right. Here we are. Good. So listen, marvellous. Thanks be to God. And heading into leadership, a leadership role in the coming year.
Yes. So more prayers needed.
For sure. But graces will come.
Of course.
They come with it, for sure.
Yeah.
So listen, great. So it's lovely to have Alanna with us, naturally, having worked with us here, and we take small ownership of some of the little maybe formation here, or maybe some of the bad influences too. I don't know. We better not go there. But we're in our Mariathon, and we just have a little fun Chatechesis again. Aiden's great to kind of have novel ideas to sort of, hey, let's give Alanna a call and let's change it up here. So if you want to engage with us again, do you remember the numbers?
I always get mixed up and I don't want to read my own number out on.
014 12
3456.
Yay! That's the landline. Give a call. 014 123 456. And the mobile number to text and WhatsApp is 089
467
Wow.
2000.
Yay, look at that. I am impressed. It stayed with her. It's carved in the
brain somewhere in there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Often we get to repeat it. So please do text, please do WhatsApp us here, please do connect in. And if you'd like to send us a voice message, this is the latest thing too. We've had a number of lovely little voice messages of feedback and positive, encouraging words coming from people. So do that on your WhatsApp, 2089 467 2000. And again, if you're in the north or outside of Ireland, further afield, plus 353 89 467 2000. You can write to us, of course, St. Anthony's Business Park, Ballymount Road, Dublin 22. And we do love to hear from you. It's our Mariathon, so we really are celebrating the joy and the gift of the radio, the great blessings our ministry has brought to so many, and indeed looking to the expansion and the growth of Radio Maria the world over. And the modest target for this year's Mariathon worldwide is only 5.5 million. And what's that between friends? I'm sure they wouldn't miss it. That's right. To help these marvellous new radio stations establish and grow. Radio Maria England is a couple of years going now, just getting off the ground in Australia. 7 new frequencies obtained in Nigeria, looking to really start there, a country of over 200 million people. And we're having the Papal Nuncio tomorrow, who's Nigerian, of course. Archbishop Okolo is going to celebrate Mass with us 3 years in a row now, even during the pandemic. And he wouldn't come for the cup of tea the last 2 years, but he said, I promise next year I'll come in for the cup of tea. So he will hold him to that this year, and the fact that he's taking his leave of us in Ireland.
Yes, I heard, yes.
And heading off to his new appointment, which I forget where that is.
It's Prague, Czech Republic.
It's Prague.
So,
wow. Nice city. I don't know if any Irish connections with Prague. Not sure. We could probably dream some up and figure it out.
You can make it happen.
There's probably an Irish pub or two there anyway. So we'll be welcoming him tomorrow, and I do hope he'll come to the microphone for a little chat. Maybe we might get a jingle out of him, maybe. But the fact that Radio Maria is really taking off in his home country, it might indeed be a factor. So if you'd like to contribute, please do anything small or large to help us along in the mission that will go to the world family of Radio Maria. We've set ourselves a target of, behind me here, €30,000, and we have climbed as of late yesterday to 5,000. I know that's gone up a little bit, and I think Martina said 5,500 now, and of that 1,500 is pledged, so we haven't yet received it, but the other 4,000 we have received. And I know there's been some nice donations have come in already earlier this morning, so we'll update that a little bit later. So it would be nice to reach our target. Were you here for a Mariathon or two in the early days? I think you may have been.
Yes.
I think the very earliest one we
Is it 2018?
2018, I think, yeah, it's just €5,000. We were very modest, but and it was one big donation at the end that helped to get us over the line. That we got, excuse me, I think about 1,000 in very small donations, and then one big donation got us to reach the target in the end. So Our Lady has a sense of humour, I think, that way, and people are very generous. So, excuse me. So, if anybody wants to be part of the draw for Roisin's woolly hat and woolly jumper, we might like to hold it up there and model it a little bit. Will that fit you, do you think? Might be a little bit.
It might be a little bit
tight, maybe. I don't know what the size is. I didn't want to guess what size. I have no idea what in terms of women's sizes.
I'd say that's probably a small.
It's a small. Okay, great. So if anyone wants to have their name put in the draw for that, I think Martina wanted to put everybody's name in. Yes. So you might end up getting the jumper. And in fact, Roisin has made a second one. Oh. There's a runner-up prize too. Wow. So there's a woolly hat. It's a navy. No, I suppose what should you call it? Royal blue.
I'd say that's a royal blue.
Royal blue, yes, and red stripes there, and a woolly hat. And in the woolly hat there, we have names that we're putting the names. There'll be a draw on Saturday morning's Chatechesis with Roisin for the winner of the Mariathon Ganzi.
Ganzi.
Call it Mariathon Oscuelga. I have no idea. Yeah. So anyway, the Mariathon Ganzi, and there's a second runner Ganzi prize too as well. So if you'd like to have your name put in, just let us know. And if you want to make a donation or not, just for the crack, put your name in. We'll put it into the woolly hat there, and we'll do the draw on the morning Chatechesis on Saturday morning to see who the lucky winner of the woolly jumper is. Now behind me we have is it 6 questions that they are, or the 6?
I think just the first 3 different topics, I think, and I think we're doing the first 3. I think there's maybe 4 questions within each of the things. So you're going to explain to me what's going on here, and to anybody who's listening. We have a kind of a is it a quiz? Not a quiz, a kind of a you're getting asked questions, yes. Flunk the priest, is that it?
Flunk the priest or something of that order. Oh. So if you're watching online, you can see we've got a kind of a board here with, it's all nicely done up here, yes, with hidden secret questions. Yes. It's something to do with the most Googled. Yes, they're the most questions.
Googled. So I think each one has a different question, and then it has the different questions underneath that, then, like, can priests, and then it has what's suggested as questions. So
I see, okay. And it's the most Googled questions for priests.
Yes.
Then? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I get to be at the receiving end of it.
Yeah, I can't answer these.
If I'm stuck, I'd be well able. Anyway, that's the fun for today, and you actually might have a Google type question that you might want to ask the priest. Again, you know how we love to have a conversation here. We like to engage in dialogue. As always, so 0894672000, text and WhatsApp, and call on 014-123456. So, Alanna, drum roll.
Oh gosh. The first
do priests get paid? Strangely enough, we do. When I started in the priesthood, actually, I'm 24 years a priest now. It was kind of not a salaried. You were given a sort of an allowance or a stipend, or there was a certain amount agreed among priests. And as a junior priest, as a newbie, a shiny new priest, a rookie, you kind of got a minimum amount, whereas the parish priest got an extra, a bunce for being a parish priest. And the idea was that from the collections, not the Sunday collections, none of the Sunday collections, all the Sunday collections, just to be clear for people, go into the upkeep of the church, paying for insurance and lighting and heating and candles and cleaning, and paying for, a stipend for the organist or the sacristan or parish secretary, all these things. The maintaining of the house, there's a lot of expenses in a parish, as you can imagine. None of that goes to the priests at all. The collections for the priests would, generally speaking, at least in my own diocese, would be the Easter Jews, as they're known, and the Christmas Jews. And if there happens to be a surplus, it's divided among the priests. But they've now set rather than differentiating between parish priests and junior curates, it's a kind of a blanket payment. And the funny thing that always cracked me up, having come from sort of a professional world of being a surveyor in an engineering firm, just made me laugh how every year of ordination you'd get €100 bonus, you know. So €100, I said, let's put it back in the collection. It's just no need. So you'd have to live to about 1,000 for it to come to anything reasonable, you know. €100, why bother? So they kind of abolished the old system. There was meetings and finance this, and I suppose fellows were given out and so on. So I think the standard salary now is €25,000 per annum, and it's paid as a monthly salary out of the dues, I suppose. The number 2 account is what they call it sometimes, but would come from the Easter and the Christmas collections. And with that, the €25,000, a priest, he pays tax on that. And we're allowed to keep, obviously, any offerings for masses. 1 per day only. That's another important proviso, that we can't become a mass-saying service and say 10 masses and get 10 stipends. No matter how many masses we say, we're only allowed to keep 1 stipend per day, and any other stipends people might offer, if we happen to say a second mass, go to the bishop for a fund that he in our case, I think it goes into the sabbatical fund, which helps to finance priests when they're off parish duty and they're away on sabbatical. But it's at the bishop's discretion. So if it is, I say, 2 masses and I get, say, €10 for one or €20 for the other or something, then one of those stipends goes to the bishop. If it's a funeral mass or a wedding is the second mass, then there is, it's in canon law, the church, you're allowed to keep that stipend, because it's the duty of performing the wedding or the funeral, that's okay. And so there is a modest income that might come, depending on the parish and the situation, from funerals or weddings and so on. But all of that has to be declared to the taxman, and we're self-employed, and so we get clobbered for tax like anyone else. It's not much fun. But you wouldn't really be getting very far nowadays, anyway, on €25,000. It's enough to. It's fine. It's plenty to get by, and it's plenty to give a bit of it away here and there where you can. So the answer is yes. And I suppose the labourer deserves their keep. Like, I mean, as a missionary, you're entitled to upkeep for sure. And you're in the same boat as myself, really. You're kind of dependent on donors and those who support. And if we trust in the Lord, we won't go hungry.
Yes, exactly. Providence.
That's it. But we have to ask at the same time.
Yes. We go on to the next one.
Yeah, is that a suitable answer? It is, yeah?
I think that's acceptable.
Yeah. Good.
Oh.
They get paid in Ireland. Oh, we do. And people, I might just say, actually, a big thank you, because people are very generous and very kind. And there's a lot of, I won't say payment in lieu, but people are just so generous with their resources. So, people will, I've had invitations to stay in people's houses, for instance, come on holidays here, there, everywhere. They'll invite you around for food or for dinner or something, or a meal and that. Like I know priests, they get sort of firewood delivered to the door, this kind of thing, or a plate of dinner kind of dropped around, you know. There's some story about a parish priest, I don't think it's true though, where the new curate had arrived, and the parish priest gave him, his first job was all these empty plates, and he said, go around to all these houses and ask for a refill, you know. Whatever free dinners were coming at the door. But I think that's just a story. But people like that, it's not just sort of financial, and people offer their services very reasonably as well, and it's not unusual, and it's a little embarrassing at times too. Professionals might forego a fee or whatever. So I went to a solicitor not that long ago to get a signature for something or other, and you're allowed to follow your granddaughter. No, I offered to pay naturally, and I said, no, you're fine, just say a prayer for me and whatever. So,
solicitor.
Yeah, that's right. I could go back there again. Yeah. So it's true, and in Ireland people are generous in that way too, and very kind, I must say, and very appreciative, So it's not just the monetary side of things. People, and at times of hardship, I suppose, for the priest too, or bereavement, say certainly during when both my parents died, people are just so very kind and so very compassionate, again for all the right reasons. So God is good.
Great.
So that's what the Lord mentioned when Peter and the apostles said, hey, we left everything to follow you, like what's in it for us, And the Lord said, well, full measure, pressed down, shaken together, poured into your lap, not without persecution, little terms and conditions.
That's fine print.
But in this life and in the life to come. So yes and yes.
Yes.
That's a good one. Oof, is that on Google?
Do priests have to report crimes?
Do they report crimes? Ouch, ouch, ouch.
Maybe that's to do with confession.
Yes,
I don't
I'm
know.
wondering, is that what that's why I'm ouching? The putting a confession to one side for a minute, otherwise, like any other good citizen, hey, why not? And maybe crimes committed against them too. I had a break-in once in one of my houses there, and the special branch came down the next day, and I was like, it was just kind of a break-in. It wasn't nothing much. There was a bit of damage done, and nothing much was taken. There was nothing there to take, really. They'd have done me a favour if they took some of the stuff away, if you get something new. But special branch came in and says, were they? Did you see them, or were they armed? And I was like, oh, no, I certainly didn't. They all happened when I was out. It was funny, actually. I called the guards, and I was on my way back to the house. The alarm had gone off, and it had been notified to my phone or something. And the guard was there waiting, and he said, hang on, we'll take it handy here. We won't be rushing in here in case they're still inside, And I was like, Jane, even the guard just kind of, not taking any chances. And they were well gone. There was no problem. The alarm might have scared them off. I know they actually some of the evidence suggests that they climbed on the wheelie bin and they got an axe from the garage to actually whack the alarm off the wall so that it wouldn't be heard. They left that sort of stuff lying around. But anyway, nothing. But the special branch said, there's been a spate of priests who break in with and threatened and tied up and stuff. Whatever time that was. It was like, okay, thanks very much. Thanks. I'll really sleep well tonight now.
Thank you.
So I mean, if that's a good question, absolutely. I mean, we would certainly report crimes and do our duty as citizens. Interesting question associated with that is do priests do jury duty?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been called for jury duty.
I did actually this year.
You did?
And I couldn't go. And I was actually sad about it. I had a reasonable excuse, so I didn't have to go. But it was, it would have been interesting to go. But
Fascinating, And apparently priests are exempt from jury duty. And the reason is that we would be much too nice. We'd be much too compassionate. That the defending solicitors and lawyers would play on the fact that it's a priest, and we'd be weighing on the side of mercy rather than justice. And so we just can't. We don't qualify at all.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
We wouldn't be as impartial, maybe. So that's curious. So I got asked for jury duty there not so long ago, and wrote back. And they have a list of exceptions. Ordained priest or whatever.
Yes.
End of. Serious. Actually, I think it's a criminal offence not to turn up for your jury
you get
duty.
fined and things, and you could get arrested.
But on the topic of that, if it's related to confession, no, never, because, and there's a few interesting avenues or angles on it, that anything that's revealed in confession is done with the understanding that it is under seal, the seal of the sacrament. Otherwise, people wouldn't tell us.
Exactly,
And if it was that, I was to break the seal, or if and that was the kind of the rule, nobody would come to confession. Would just render void all confessions. So why would anybody come to confess anything if it's going to be told to somebody else? It's between the penitent and God. The priest simply acts as a mediator. So there have been moves to try to suggest legalising the reporting of crimes confessed in confession, and it just makes nonsense of the sacrament. You just rubbish the sacrament, and who's going to ever use it again? And I get asked this in class. Actually, there's a variation on that question. Students would ask the curious one, what have you heard in confession? What kind of have any juicy sins you want to share to us? Spill, I say, well, pretty much all the commandments, one shape side. I mean, human nature is human nature. But Father, what if somebody came into confession and said, they murdered somebody, they committed a crime, kind of thing. What would you do? And I said, well, you can actually make it worse. Why not, make the question harder? I said, what if somebody come in and said they murdered my sister or my mother, or, what would you do? Surely, Father, you'd want to, get back. You'd want to. And I said, well, that's why they have a grill in the confession, so you can't. Teasing. No, it actually touches in at the very heart of our faith in some ways. that it's about mercy.
Mm-hmm.
It's about mercy.
Yeah.
And that even if they've committed a grievous crime against me, in the context of confession, I still cannot break the seal, and I have to show God's mercy. And it's probably a really, really difficult thing to do by God's grace. But no is the answer. I can't. But I reverse the question then. I throw it back to what can I do? Is there anything I can reasonably do in confession? If it is that no way am I breaking the seal, what is it I could do? Just throw it back at you there now, Alanna.
It's funny, this is actually one of the questions that we get a lot on campus about confession specifically, and if someone confesses something in confession, like, shouldn't the priest have to, like, say, and we're like, no, and that they just cannot cope with that whatsoever. Because it's like in a secular culture it's justice, like, but we believe in mercy,
for sure.
and God's justice, but I'm sure you can probably like encourage them to, like, themselves, like, report what they've done, or do that, and
absolutely, that's part of the journey of repentance.
Is reparation.
Hey, you've got to deal with this. You know, this is my problem. God forgives you, no problem. You're welcome back into the family. But there's a bit of damage repair to be attended to, and that's part of your sincerity of repentance. So it's not as if the priest is somehow then obliged to report crimes. The person who's committed the crime has to take the appropriate action themselves, and to work that out and discern it. And the fact that they've received mercy can very often be the instrument to help them attend to the justice. So that's the answer for your students as well. Hey, listen, confession is great because it actually gets people to fess up, knowing that they'll be forgiven, and then to begin, however that journey might take them, towards justice as well. You know, so interesting. So if that's what you say about the students, if justice is a thing, sort of vengeance and revenge, that's all the avenger is all this sort of mentality of payback. That's not God's way of thinking at all. Thanks be to God.
Yes, and something I can't remember who said it, but we as a team were talking about, like, campus culture, but then also, like, kind of like wider, just like secular culture, and it's the idea is that, like, everything is permissible but nothing is forgivable.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Wow, that's so messed up. That is so messed up. Everything's permissible but nothing's forgivable. Wow, we're in right trouble. Like, you're kind of just washed up at that stage, and there's just you're just shipwrecked. Wow.
Well, God is faithful, so it's okay.
Thanks for the God. God is good. Will we hit the last one before we go to a break?
Do priests get a pension?
Oh, wow, do we get a pension? That's cool. If it's actually like any employment, I suppose, so that the bishop isn't exactly our employer. I suppose the parish employs us, kind of thing. But, like, we're registered, with PPS numbers, and we pay tax and everything else. So, if there's anything left in the kitty by the time it comes, sure, we get a state pension and the free travel when you're 66 and all those things that in Ireland, thanks be to God, is still there. How long more it'll last. So a state pension for sure, and then it's up to the individual priest if he wants to take out a private pension. Like any employee in any employment situation, you're welcome to pay contributions towards a private pension fund, and sure, get a pension out of it. But the retirement age for priests? The official retirement age canonically in the church? No? Have a guess?
Is it higher or lower than
It's higher. It's got to be higher.
75?
Yeah, 75. So 66, I think, is the current.
Yeah.
So by the time we hit 66, we're still working for another 9 years, at least in theory, but can get a state pension if we've paid all our stamps and all our dues and whatever you need to pay for that. But 75 is kind of the official retirement age. The priest has to hand in his notice, and it's up to the bishop whether or not to accept it. And I know my own diocese, I think it's true around the country, there's many priests gone beyond 75 who are still very much in tow and working away, and maybe not doing as much administration, but certainly working away. There's a priest back in my home parish, Macroom, he's 91 or 2, still hale and hearty, and still pulling his weight as a kind of a curate standing in there. And it's absolutely fabulous that we have these elderly priests still working so hard. In a sense, there's no retirement as such. And the pension would be a nice little bonus on top of the modest salary that the priest gets too. And by the time we reach that age, anyway, it probably isn't much we could like to be spending on a new set of golf clubs or something. I don't know. You know, but when you think of those kind of little expenses, like running a car, health insurance, and then paying, generally the curate's house or the parish house is provided free, so there's no rent or rates or any of these things. But certainly heating, lighting, insurance, car, and food, you kind of, there isn't much change left there really, so it's all modest enough in its own way. But they're great questions, and interesting. Like, would you become a priest for the salary, for the money? I doubt it. I doubt it. I mean, I left all that sort of stuff behind. And in a way, like I've said, and I hope you're experiencing it too, in the kind of the mission sense, that it actually frees you.
Absolutely.
Not to be worried about all that stuff. And you can just say, look, it's all right, there's enough to go on, and I can just detach from all of that and just get plowing with the work, you know.
Yep.
So it's all good. So fair play, Google. So the answer is yes. State pension if there's one, and again, private pension. But again, that's not the pension that we should be relying on. It's the pension
yes.
in heaven that really the return on the investment that we're looking for. So very good. So if you have any questions you want to put to the priest here, or put to Alanna maybe, to take the heat off a little bit, you'd be very welcome to. Shall we pause for a little piece of music? Good. So listen, thanks very much again. Text us, and if you'd like to make an offering and put your name in the hat for Roisin's Ganzi, please do as well. And the text number? 089?
089 467 2000.
Fantastic. And the phone number to give a call?
041
01
01
4
014 1 2 3 4
5 6. She has it. No fear at all. No fear at all. And Nancy's still in touch with us. She's lighting candles in church for us every day there.
Oh, wow.
So Nancy's great, keeps in prayer. She enjoys listening in and praying along with us too. So we would love to hear from you. Please do connect in with us, and please do share with us the great blessing of our Mariathon days here and the joy of sharing the faith with one another. So now a little piece of music to follow here. Nuria has something lined up for us there. We'll be back very shortly. Thank you.
Where are you now when darkness seems to win? Where are you now when the world is crumbling? Oh, I hear you say, look up, child. Hey, look up, child. Hey, where are you now when all I feel is doubt? Oh, where are you now when I can't figure it out?
Hi, I am Liam from Letterkenny, County Donegal. Happy 7th birthday, Radio Maria, Ireland, and many more of them. I like the sound teaching, prayer, masses, chat and fun Radio Maria is. If you can please contribute to keeping this national treasure on air, that would be great. God bless. Mukarja, Liam.
Oh, go and take our father, Gormaga to Liam from Letterkenny. So thanks for that. And do send in your own voice message too. It's just something simple like that. Just hit the microphone button on your WhatsApp there and send us in a quick message would be nice. 089 467 2000. The landline to give a call. Speak to Martina there, Mary. We've one or two volunteers downstairs. Anne is in, I think, as well today. And Joan was here for the night in adoration. Man, how that she's still wide awake as if she had a good night's sleep there a while ago. How she does it, I have no idea. So if you want to come and spend a little time in adoration here as well, the Blessed Sacrament is exposed here 24/7 through Friday through Saturday. And you can come and sign up and spend a little time here, and then maybe volunteer at the telephone or that here in the studio for an hour or two as well to help us along in our radio work. So now, if you just joined our Chatechesis this morning, tongue-tied Alanna Bradley is with us. So welcome again, Alanna.
Thank you.
And Alanna, of course, has worked for us in the past here and is now going to her third year of missionary activity with Focus Fellowship of Catholic University students based in UCD, but of course they are massive in the States. We're talking thousands, I think, is it?
I think they have maybe 800 or 900 missionaries over there. Yeah.
And there's all young people of your own calibre.
Yep, so recent college graduates, and they've actually started to move into a few parishes. So there's parish missionaries as well, which is like a more long-term thing, which is fantastic.
Brillo pads, absolutely. So listen, there's such good stuff going on. The Holy Spirit is just scattering seeds all over the place, and there's great things. So don't believe any of the nonsense that you hear, the fake news, really, any of the negative stuff towards the church. There's a whole new generation of wonderful people coming forward, and that those who just keep harping on and just carrying the baggage from the past. Listen, this is what mercy is about. Mercy means we can move on. We can, keep our hope up and our faith alive and well and active, that we are all the sinners in need of that mercy. So now, Alanna, thanks for coming in, and Aidan has set you up with some more questions to hit me over the head with.
Yes.
They were maybe the easy introductory ones, I think.
Maybe we don't know what's behind this one.
Yes. So number 2.
Can
priests
drink alcohol?
That's interesting, isn't it? Because there's a perception that all priests are non-smokers, non-drinkers, and all pioneers in that, but it's simply not the case. There was a time in the past, if you go into Maynooth, we visited Maynooth on a little pilgrimage there, and I was explaining how the class pieces with the pictures of all the priests ordained year on year are sort of along the corridor there, the cloister in Maynooth. And there was a time in the past where you could count the number of pioneer pins on each. There might be 40 priests ordained. That nearly all of them would have pioneer pins. But you get to the later years and it's less and less. So pioneer pins there. So it's not the case, no. I mean, and priests do, and sadly some priests have problems with alcohol too. The life can be, depending on, again, how the priest applies himself to his ministry, he may have a weakness in that regard. It's not unusual too for priests, sadly, to become addicted to alcohol and run into trouble because the ministry can be very challenging at times, and you hit some really kind of difficult situations, and there's a sense in which you need to have a very kind of strong prayer life and a good supportive community to sustain you, and fellow priests to journey with you too. That helps a lot in terms of maintaining a balance and not travelling down these roads of sort of self-indulgence, So yes, priests do indeed drink alcohol, but the big question in school that I always got was, Father, you're a pioneer, right? Cork accent coming in. What about the wine at Mass? That was the kind of the burning question. And again, being the teacher that I tried to be, I said, well, yeah, what about the wine at Mass? And they're sort of looking at me, scratching their heads. But it's wine at Mass. I said, no, it is not wine, and I'm not lying. It is real wine that comes out of the bottle that I put in the chalice, but after the consecration, it's the blood of Christ. But you could get drunk on it, couldn't you? Or you couldn't. They kind of pushed the point a little bit. Well, listen, it's a tablespoon full of, the precious blood, and I try to keep the focus on that rather than the alcohol. And they again, it's, I suppose at a young age like that, it's a hard thing to grasp, but to me, again, it gets to the very heart of, when we were talking about mercy is at the heart of our message, but like with the real presence of Christ is at the heart of it too. So, and Jesus drank. Not a problem. I mean,
his first miracle was the wedding feast
of
of Cana.
Party. I mean, and it was the best wine, and about 900 litres. I mean, my argument about that is it's about an off license full of wine, of water turned into wine. So huge, the quantity of it there. So yes, not a difficulty. But it's interesting they'd be curious about these things.
Yes. Get married.
Now we're
get
getting
married.
into interesting territory. Well, I have met many a married priest, and I have met many a priest who used to be married, and his wife died, and they ended up becoming a priest. So yes is the answer if you want to kind of circumnavigate the point. But if a man decides to pursue a vocation in the Latin rite, the Western rite of the Church, the choice that is made is not to marry, in order to give oneself wholeheartedly to the mission. And so it's in a way kind of marrying the church. The church is the bride of Christ. Jesus speaks even of himself as the bridegroom, and it's that nuptial relationship where it's a total giving of self, just as in married life, and it's a caring for the offspring and the children of that relationship, which is the faithful. And so it means I can be free to give myself wholeheartedly to my spouse, which is the church, which is the people of God. So the priest is married, if it's understood in that way, but not as a wife and children in the other sense that it's understood. So it's not a negative thing by any means. The world picks that up as like, what a downer, what, you're repressing your this, that, and the next thing. And like, the reality is that an awful lot of people are living celibate lives, and they're not married. Single people, widows, widowers, to name a few. So they kind of get caught up in this argument or sense that you have to get married. So no, and there is a sense in which it is a spousal relationship, and it is a giving of self to that vocation. So to get married to a woman, let's say, would be like having two spouses or two relationships. Would be like bigamy sort of thing.
You can't give yourself fully to both.
No, certainly not. And it's because Jesus himself wasn't married. He laid down his life for his bride, the church. There's the reason. So it makes eminent sense. In the Eastern Rite, one has to be, as a man, has to be married before they enter into priestly formation in the Eastern Orthodox faith. You can't be ordained and then get married.
You should be married
first.
Is that the same in the Byzantine?
Yeah,
I think,
among the Eastern rites, that'll be one of them for sure.
Yeah, and I have heard of a few Anglican priests that then became Catholic priests and were married.
Correct. Indeed, the priest director of Radio Maria England, who has now gone off to be a priest director of Radio Maria in Australia. He came here with his wife not so long ago, and we had a great chat. We had a Chatechesis moment there, and he needed the support of his wife for his conversion to Catholicism, obviously, and the two of them did. And then to become a Catholic priest, she was very much involved in that whole decision. But it's unusual, but it works. And so he's celebrating Mass and hearing confessions, and it means that having to sustain and support his family now in the church is another big ask. When about getting paid and getting money in the door, it's a whole other side of it. But our time is gone, Alanna, that we didn't just get halfway through even to what we were intended to get through. Anyway. So listen, well done, Alanna. Thank you.
Thank you, Father.
Are you going to stay with us for prayer?
Yes, I will.
You will. Fantastic.
I love to pray.
Good. That's fantastic. We do too. So thanks and a wave to everybody on Facebook and YouTube. Drop your comments and likes there, share, and so on with all our social media. Thanks for all listening in as well. It's 12 o'clock now. Let's allow our bells to toll. We'll pray our Regina Coeli and our midday prayer.